ẹ̀yin onílé lóko. Ẹ sì kú dédé àsìkò yìí. Hello everyone, it's Adironke. I hope your day is going well. Today I'd like to talk about the word je and the different meanings that it could have. Je, 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 that's the word, je, and the different meanings that it could have. Eat or dine. Those are the first set of words, or I suppose eat, dine, same thing, pretty similar, if not the same thing. Eat comes to mind when you think of the word je, because we eat often, so that's pretty common. Je is eat. Je is eat. Je could also be to gain or win. Je could also be gain, win. Je could also be that. Mo je owo. Mo je tete. Mo je could be to win. Anyway, to gain, to win, to collect. Je je igbati. We often put igbati is like slap. Igbaeti. Ba is to beat or slap. Eti is the hair. So it's like igbati, you slap. Je is the verb that often comes before igbati when you are trying to narrate or state that someone was slapped or someone is about to be slapped or whatever applies in that context. So je in that case would be to collect, so it could also be it could also imply collect or receive in certain cases. Yes, it could also imply collect or receive or get eat, dine. It could also be gain or win. It could also be collect or get or receive. Lastly, I'm thinking of the word ho. Mo je owo. O also comes to mind. Ho. Mo je owo. O je mi lowo. He or she or it. Our pronouns are not gender differentiating. Even our words are not gender differentiating. They are identifying words. They identify, but they are not exactly intended to differentiate and separate. And the more you learn the language, the more you see that. We don't really, the way that the English treat words is pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. One recent one was I was working on antonyms, and I sort of Googled, like, do people consider the opposite of female male? And it appeared that for the most part, a lot of people seem to agree, and there were comments for and against, and a lot of them were for, and they were saying, oh well, female is the opposite of male because I suppose this was supposed to be the rationale for it that I read. Males can give birth and males cannot and women can. And I thought, when you create that kind of world, it's pretty problematic. It's pretty problematic. It's not exactly how it works, so we don't have differentiating approaches to language. But that's another discussion for another day. Je could be to hold. You hold me money. You hold me that. Mo je lowo. Mo je lowo. I hold you money. O je mi ni wakati meji. You hold me 2 hours. Je could be that. And there's another aspect of Yoruba language that this also appeals to. The idea of using something that isn't inherently negative as far as its previous use is concerned to mean or represent something that ordinarily will be, well, in I suppose, other parts of the world, or ordinarily, one could consider negative. So these words tell you something about how the Yoruba people not just think but also embrace life, because the word je is to gain, you know, it's gain, it's acquire, it's, you know. But when you use it to mean hoe as well, she owes me money, or jemilowo, the word is not in and of itself bad in any way. So it's like, I'm pretty sure that in English the word oh sort of comes with a connotation that can sometimes be negative, you know. But with the Yoruba people, it's, the word is not as bad. It's not as bad. It's normal that you owe people things, you know. I mean, you owe people favors, you owe people time, you owe people. It's just pretty normal. There was a time among the Yoruba in which if you wanted to clear out a piece of land, for example, and you were a group of friends, you would just call your friends and they would clear the piece of land for you and assist with your farming. And when they want to do this, all you have to do, all they have to do is provide you with the meal and entertainment and music and pub wine and all that, and you and the other group of friends will clear out their land as well. You know, hoeing is not, to us, is not really a negative thing. So that's a pretty interesting thing to note. The language and culture are super interesting. Next, I'll give example sentences and use them in the different contexts with the different meanings that I've mentioned. Je is eat or dine. Je is win or gain. Je is hoe. And je is collect or receive. Eat or dine, win or gain, hoe, or collect or receive. When je is being used in the eat or dine context, an example statement would be mo fẹ́ jẹ iyán àti ọbẹ̀ ẹ̀fọ́. 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 Mo is I. Mo is I. Fẹ́ is to want or want to. Je is eat. Iyán is what we call pounded yam, and it's it's a staple delicacy in Nigeria, in Yoruba land, you could say. Iyán. Àti is and. Ọbẹ̀ is soup or stew. Ẹ̀fọ́ is what we call vegetables in general. Mo fẹ́ jẹ iyán àti ọbẹ̀ ẹ̀fọ́. I want to eat pounded yam and stewed vegetables. Stewed vegetables would be ọbẹ̀ ẹ̀fọ́. Mo fẹ́ jẹ iyán àti ọbẹ̀ ẹ̀fọ́. I want to eat pounded yam and stewed vegetables. I want to eat pounded yam and stewed vegetables. So that's an example for eat. For win or gain, an example for gain, not win, but gain would be ó jẹ oyè. Ó jẹ oyè. O is a pronoun that is gender neutral. So it could be she or it or e. It doesn't matter. Our pronouns are not gender differentiating. O, je is gain in this case, connotes gain in this case. Oye is, in a nutshell, chieftaincy. It's chieftaincy in a nutshell. Oje, oye. She or he or it gained chieftaincy. What you're saying in that case is she or he or it became a chief. ó jẹ́ oyè. They gained a title. They gained chieftaincy, pretty much. Ó joyè, ó joyè, ó jẹ́ oyè, ó joyè. Same thing. Jẹ́ and oyè are combined to form joyè, but it's jẹ́ oyè, ó joyè, ó jẹ́ oyè, ó joyè. She or he or it or whatever they identify as became a chief. Adékọ́lá jẹ́wó rẹpẹtẹ. Adékọ́lá jẹ́wó rẹpẹtẹ. Adékọ́lá jẹ́ owó rẹpẹtẹ would be what it is, because jẹ́wó is not an original word. It's a combination of jẹ́ and owó. Adékọ́lá jẹ́wó rẹpẹtẹ. Adékọ́lá jẹ́ owó rẹpẹtẹ. Adékọ́lá, it's a name. Adé is a popular prefix for Yoruba names in which you say the Adé is crown or like royalty. Basically, what it means is something that is placed on the head. Day is to wear. Adé is like something. It can't just be anything. It's what we call the crown, noun. You know, what you would translate as the crown. But Adé, that thing that is worn on the head, that is a crown and represents royalty. So it would be a royalty when you use it as a prefix. In current times, like, I've seen a lot of people who are not necessarily from a royal family, whose ancestors were not necessarily people who served in the ruler capacity, you know, use Adé in front of their names. It was centuries ago that you would have found that among royal people or people who were maybe in spiritual settings royal as well. Doesn't have to be like just royal as far as leading the people with your day-to-day commerce and whatever. At that point, it really didn't have to be just that. You know, you could be royal in other spiritual settings and be like have the highest position, you know. So it was typically reserved for people within those settings, but now it's just what it is. So Adékọ́lá, the crown has taken or hand wealth, you know. It's like saying the crown has the wealth. Adékọ́lá, the crown has packed. Adékọ́lá, the crown has packed the wealth, or the crown has taken the wealth, the affluence. The crown has the affluence, you know, is what it is if you even translate further. The wealth, the affluence, Adékọ́lá. Jẹ́ is win in this case. Owó is money. Rẹpẹtẹ is plenty. Owó rẹpẹtẹ. Notice how the plenty isn't coming before money. You know, we're not saying rẹpẹtẹ owó. We're saying owó rẹpẹtẹ. And I've explained this in my video on how adjectives work in the Yoruba language. I'll link it somewhere here. The adjectives go after the nouns. I've talked about it. Adékọ́lá won plenty money is what it is. Adékọ́lá won plenty money. It could be something else, and I'll explain soon. But for this context, for the win or gain context, Adékọ́lá jẹ́wó rẹpẹtẹ would be Adékọ́lá won plenty money. In the whole context, it could be that Adékọ́lá owes plenty money when you say Adékọ́lá jẹ́wó rẹpẹtẹ. Again, you're combining jẹ́ and owó. I intentionally chose to use the exact same sentence, and I'll use follow-up sentences to sort of clarify. Many things with Yoruba translations are dependent on the context, what happened before, what is expected to happen. So Adekola jẹ owó rẹpẹtẹ. Adekola jẹ owó rẹpẹtẹ. Adekola is a name, like I've said. Jẹ would be whole. In this case, owó is money. Rẹpẹtẹ is plenty. Adekola owes plenty money. You know. So how do you how do you differentiate between both when they are stated? I suppose you always have to be aware of the context. But let's give other example statements in which they are clearer. You know, the differences between both are clearer. You can tell that in this case it is whole, and in this other case it is win. Adekola jẹ owó rẹpẹtẹ lẹ́yìn ìdíje. 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 Jẹwo is a combination of jẹ owó, you know. So, like I stated earlier, so same thing. Jẹwo, jẹ owó. Adekola is a name, like I've stated. Jẹ would be win. Owó is money. Rẹpẹtẹ, plenty. Lẹ́yìn ìdíje. Ẹ̀yìn is back. Ẹ̀yìn is back. So when we say ní ẹ̀yìn and combine them and say lẹ́yìn, you know, we're saying after. As if to suggest that it's something that is behind something. Behind one, like after, at the back, after. So anyway, ẹ̀yìn, that's just a fun fact. Ẹ̀yìn is back. Lẹ́yìn, after. Ìdíje is competition or race. So in this case, it's clear that Adekola won plenty money after the competition. Depending on the context, all right? Depending on the context, can you say this can still be whole? You know, perhaps Adekola decided to place a bet or something after some vehicle race competition or something, or before. Well, it would be before. They decided to place a bet with their money with other people for a competition, you know, and perhaps they lost. Could this also be that they that they owed plenty money? Perhaps they borrowed the money thinking that a particular team was going to win and they did not, and now they're in trouble. Could be. It could be that Adekola gambled their money, their finances away, their stable finances away. But, you know, typically, Adekola won plenty money after the competition. Everything is always dependent on the context. But it's the same word for win and hoe. So, you know. Anyway, an example for where Adekola would clearly be owing somebody money. In this case, it would be how clearly would be Adekola jẹ Kọ́ládé lówó rẹpẹtẹ. Adekola jẹ Kọ́ládé lówó rẹpẹtẹ. Adekola jẹ Kọ́ládé lówó rẹpẹtẹ. Kọ́ládé is ko olade, bring wealth. Ko is like pack to somewhere, or like even simply bring, you know, bring, pack and bring it type thing. Bring. Ola is wealth, affluence, you know, things of that nature. De is to come or arrive. You're saying the arrival, if you give a child that name, you're saying the arrival of this baby brought wealth to the family, or is expected to bring wealth, affluence to the family. You know, might even be manifesting that into the child's future, you know, and saying as they've arrived in the family, they will have an affluent life, a rich life, a wealthy life, you know. So there are different reasons why people give their children different names. Adekola is a name. Je is ho. Kolade is a name. Ni doesn't really have an English equivalent. It's a particle that is used, or that is said or written or mentioned before the what of a statement is given. So Adekola hold Kolade what. You put ni before you state the what, particle used before the what is given. As far as the particles are concerned, ni is one of those that when it's applied in this case, there wouldn't exactly be an English translation for it, an English equivalent for it. This is something that I'd have to discuss another time. Owo is money, repete is plenty. Adekola je kolade ni owo repete. Adekola holds kolade plenty money. So in this case, it's perfectly clear that ho is what is applying here, not win or gain or any other meanings that je could have. Adekola je kolade lo repete would clearly indicate Adekola holds kolade plenty money. The last one, less common, not as nice as the previous, would be collect or receive. And it would be collect or receive something unpleasant that is not asked for. That is the context that it would be used in, the collect or receive something unpleasant sense. Je iko. Receive a knock. Je iko lori. Receive a knock on the head. It's sort of slangy too, but I suppose not necessarily. No, not necessarily. Anyway, je igbati, receive a slap. That's another instance. Jegbaru. Receive a slap at the back of the head, so it's typically used in that collect or receive something unpleasant sense. An example statement would be ṣé o fẹ́ jẹ ìgbátí. Ṣé o fẹ́ jẹ ìgbátí. Ṣé o fẹ́ jẹ ìgbátí. Jẹ ìgbátí. Those two words are combined to form jẹgbati. Jẹ ìgbátí, jẹgbati. Ṣé o fẹ́ jẹ ìgbátí. 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 Ṣé is a question starter. Basically, it's a question starter. In this case, it's serving as do. O is you. O is you. Fẹ́ is want or want to. Jẹ is receive, collect. But specifically, something that is unpleasant. In other contexts, I suppose with win and gain, it won't necessarily be something unpleasant, but in the sense that often applies with collect or receive, it's like or take, taking something unpleasant is what comes to mind. Igbati is slap. Igba eti, slapping the hair, so like a slap or slapping the environment of the hair. Anyway, do you want to receive or collect or take a slap? Ṣé o fẹ́ jẹ ìgbátí? Do you want to receive or collect or take a slap? And when you translate that, it would be, do you want to be slapped? Ṣé o fẹ́ jẹ ìgbátí? Do you want to be slapped? So that would be an example question statement for collect or receive or take something unpleasant. Je, 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 eat, je, ho, je, gain, je, win, je, once you're familiar with these meanings, these different meanings, when the word je is used in different contexts, you won't be confused like, oh, the only meaning that I know is it. You would know that well. It checks out because these are the other meanings that it could have as well. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'll be delighted to assist you further with whatever inquiries that you have. Thank you for your time. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Mo bá bí ọmọ lábẹ́ àkó, ẹ wá wá arúgbó lò tí ń jègbó funfun. Bí ó kú ni bí òye ní òun mọ, ó dá mi lójú pé àdáta Yemọja sani ìyá kọ mi ọ̀tẹ́ dá lẹ́yìn pọ́sọ̀ngó. Ọlálẹ́mí bọ̀ kẹ́rì òkun, Yemọja ló rán lọ́dún lọ́sàn sẹ̀rẹ̀ mọ́nà. Tí Yemọja bá fọ́re Ṣàngó sì fọ́re. Kó lórí ọ̀fọ̀ mórí o, jẹ́ nílé jẹ́ lódò Yemọja yé. Ó sá bàbá mi Àrẹ̀mú ní ẹ̀ka rodò. Ká lè gbọ́ ọmọ tuntun o Yemọja. Wọ́n jọ fò sàwọn ọmọ mi o. Jẹ́ nílé jẹ́ lódò. Ó sá bàbá mi Àrẹ̀mú ní ẹ̀ka rodò. Ó sàwọn ọmọ mi o Yemọja. Ògún àjùmọ̀jọba àwa rèé. Jẹ́ nílé jẹ́ lódò Yemọja yé. Ó sá bàbá mi Àrẹ̀mú ní